Good evening, Willow families. I'm Dr. Beard, the proud principal of Willow Elementary School. I'm very excited to share with you what our new Willow School will look like. We're going to have Sammy share some slides with us. Thank you for joining us.
Hi everyone, I'm Sammy Shashowski with King Scott Architects. We're here to talk about the plans for the new Willow site. So in summary, just to give you some highlights, the Willow School is going to be completely new construction on the existing school site. So the existing Willow School will be torn down and this will be all new construction. The site will hold kindergarten through 8th grade with a projected capacity between 450 and 500 students, which is about 2 sections per grade level. We have designed this project with sustainable systems and design principles in mind, starting with solar orientation and how the buildings are arranged, utilizing natural sunlight to the best of our ability, and then also integrating geothermal heating and cooling for the HVAC systems and solar PV panels to help with the electrical load. Touching briefly on schedule, this project is well into design, which will be wrapping up here towards the end of the year. The demolition of the existing building is expected to start early next year, with construction of the new project shortly following in spring of 2024. That construction is expected to wrap up in spring of 2026 to be open for student use in the fall of 2026. We'll start high level talking about the site. With this project, we're looking at fully utilizing the site that's available, and the project is broken up into 4 buildings on this one site. So it's got a main building that has the shared spaces like the gym and the cafeteria, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into that. And then there's dedicated classroom pods that create learning communities for the different grade levels. So there's a dedicated K through 2 classroom pod, 3rd grade through 5th grade, and 6th through 8th.
And one thing I'd like to add, it's wonderful to see you all. I'm Ben Schuldener, the superintendent of the Lansing School District, is that we've heard from the community that they really like the idea of a K-8 school, so that if you have a 1st grader, a 3rd grader, an 8th grader, they can all go to the same school. But we do understand that there's some worry about having kindergarten kids in the same hallway as an 8th grader. One of the great things about this new plan that Sammy is sharing is that the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders will be in their own building, where the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders will be in their own building, and the kindergarten and 1st graders and 2nd graders will be there. So that way it's still one school with shared things like gymnasiums and cafeterias, but the older kids will be in a separate building than the younger kids. That way, still being able to mentor and support the younger kids, but not necessarily in the hallway all of the time. So we heard the community, we really appreciate that, and that's one of the main reasons why we have this kind of pod idea, using all of the space, but also being really thoughtful about the K-8 situation.
So looking at the site, big picture, we are going to talk through some of the site amenities that we have. So to the north, off of Ontario Street, we'll have the parking coming in. There are 65 car parking spaces in the new lot and a dedicated parent drop-off lane. The bus parking has 4 dedicated spots off of Lansing. And then the main building is, of course, to the north of the site, closest to the parking. Around the whole perimeter of the south portion of the site will be fenced for safety and keeping the students, contained during the school day. We've got the west side of the site will have the play areas, open area for student play, as well as more structured playground areas. There will be a walking path that surrounds one of the pod buildings. Each of the K2 and 3-5 pods will have a dedicated outdoor tiered amphitheater space that can be used for outdoor learning and education. And on the east side of the site, we'll have a community area that's designated to be shared between school use and community use.
Yeah, one thing that we care very deeply about is wanting our schools to be part of our community, and in a true and thoughtful way. And what Sammy just explained is that there's going to be a basketball court and a community space that will be open both to the school as well as to the community of Willow. And you'll see the way that it's built is that there's fencing that can be opened up to the community, and then during the school day, closed so that it's protected for the students, the staff, and the school itself. But again, one of the big ideas with Willow School that we're building, and we will be moving forward with this with other schools, is to really make sure that the community feels a part of it and has a space that they can use when the school is not using it.
You can see as well, I mentioned the solar panels that would be on the roof. You can see where those will get located on top of the building. I will say that, there are some details of the site that aren't 100% captured here, but this gives you the broadest overall picture about what those site amenities start to look like. We'll first take a look at the exterior of the buildings. So starting at the front of the main building, this image shows what it would look like at that main front entry. We've got some structural steel out in the front and the canopy that creates a W shape for Willow School, of course, and some signage that will support the school name and the district logo. This image is if you were standing in that new parking lot looking at the front entry of the school, with the administrative spaces shown through the windows there and the gymnasium off to the right-hand side of the screen. This image is coming around the west side of the building, so this would be the side that is the gymnasium as well as some classroom spaces. So this is showing the open play fields with the dedicated playground space just to the south of this, and you can see the K2 pod in the background of this image. Up next, this is an aerial that shows you the 3 classroom pods at the south portion of the site. You can see they're all very similar in their design and style, but they do have a dedicated color scheme and language for each of the buildings that helps with wayfinding and gives each of the classrooms kind of a community identity. So the K2 pod is in orange, the 3-5 is in the light blue, and the purple as the 6-8 classroom pod. You can see those amphitheater spaces off of the end of the K2 and the 3-5 classroom pods, as well as that fence that is enclosing the entire site south of the main building. This is the end of those 2 classroom pods, those same 2 pods, as if you were looking at them from MLK. And again, another view of those amphitheaters with a nice pop of color that really stands out from driving by on Martin Luther King. This image now takes you interior to the site. So this is the main north-south circulation between the 3 classroom pods in the main building. The orange again is the K2 and shows the entry to that space with a nice featured canopy with a pop of color for that wayfinding. Looking at this same pod from the other direction, you can see an outdoor classroom space for those K2 through 2 students to use that is kind of nestled into the corner of this building here. This K2 pod is the closest to the main building and is just a short distance from the back entry to the main building on the site. This next image shows the view between the K2 and the 3-5 pod. So K2 in the orange and 3-5 in the blue, and shows this walking path that circles the K2 pod and the playground areas of the site for students to use. This outdoor image is showing the back of the main building, as well as some of those community spaces that we've talked about. So there's a basketball court that is to be used by both the community and the students during the school day, community after hours, as well as some dedicated outdoor community spaces. So they're the second set of fencing that runs around the perimeter of the whole site, as well as another layer that separates those community spaces from the students. And that largest amphitheater is nestled next to the basketball court that holds a larger capacity and can be used for seating, watching activities on the basketball court as well. One more outdoor image gives you the aerial off of Lansing Street, shows you those 3 pods in the main building, and another view of those community spaces.
Yeah, and once again, you can see the community space on the right, the basketball court on the left. Those will open up to the community so that they can use it, and of course that the school can use it. We know that the school district has a lot of land and a lot of space. If we're going to make it nice, make it new, we certainly want to incorporate the community to be part of it as well. And again, as Sammy said, having the outdoor amphitheaters gives the kids a place to be, that they could hold meetings, that they can have events, they can have shows, really being able to use this space in a thoughtful and constructive way rather than always being cooped up in classrooms or inside schools.
Next, we'll dive into the building, starting first with the main building and those shared spaces. Talking through the floor plan, the main entrance is at the top of the screen to the north, and there's a circulation path through a hallway that runs all the way from the north to the south end of the building and straight out to those classroom pods. The other zones of this floor plan include an administrative office suite up to the front that include the conference room, a welcome area for parents to come in, as well as some office spaces, some mechanical and back of house spaces, as well as receiving. The kitchen spaces and the storage associated with that is here, which is just off of the cafeteria. This cafeteria is also adjacent to that outdoor community space, so if the school ever wanted to hold events that utilize both the cafeteria and the outdoor space, it could do so. The music room is just to the west of the cafeteria, and the cafeteria serves a dual function, both as the cafeteria and the auditorium space for the school, so there'll be a movable platform stage that can be set up to hold community events and performances for the student. And that music space is directly connected to it to be able to provide support space to kind of prep and prepare for those students that might be coming out for those performances. In the center of the building plan here are some more support spaces as well as the main restrooms for the building. And then if we jump to the west side of the plan, to the north, you can see the gymnasium and the support spaces that are associated with that, including an office, changing room, some storage. The gymnasium itself is a full-size basketball court, as well as 2 cross courts for additional gym class and practices, and other floor markings for other activities like volleyball as well.
One thing that we wanted to really make sure of, and this is going to be the case going forward, so I'm speaking from a district lens, is to have separate gymnasiums and cafeterias. One of the things that we have found in some of our older buildings is by having one space that has to be the gym, the cafeteria, the auditorium, is that we end up not having enough space to doing all the wonderful things we need to do. With this model, and as we move forward, we're going to be able to have separate spaces where you have a cafeteria and a gymnasium. That way our children can continue to have physical education and also other children having lunch and not having that be mutually exclusive.
The last area in the main building here is this classroom wing to the south of the gym. This includes the art classroom, science classroom, and a STEAM classroom. It also includes the resource room and sensory room for special education and some staff spaces in support of that. There's also a family room, which is in support of Willow's program, which includes a community closet and a community food pantry. It also has a restroom with a shower in it, a washer and dryer. So it's really a room fully dedicated to supporting the needs of the community. And last but not least in this space is the small teachers and staff lounge, which will be for the staff at the building to use. Looking again just at the exterior of this main building, we are going to jump to the interior, but just a reminder of where we're at on the site. So this image here shows you the main welcome area and office suite for the main building. So when you come into the school, come into Willow for the first time, this is the space that you'll be greeted with. We designed it wanting the families and the parents to feel welcome in the building, and there's a space for them to come in here and sit down and wait for whoever they need to meet with in the district. Once you come in past that welcome space, you're in the main north-south corridor of the building. It really is widened and opened up to create kind of a central heart to the building, which allows for some features in the ceiling and some seating areas around this area as well. The main restrooms in the building are off of this space with your gym to the other side.
And just to add a little bit to this slide, this is a great opportunity for small group work or just some teaming activities. So we really wanted to create spaces where students could not just be in the classrooms. They also have opportunities to do some independent activities or some small group activities.
I will share as well that Furniture is still in the process of being selected. So the furniture that you're seeing in any of these images is really just to show scale and some intent for the space. It is not necessarily the final furniture that will be represented in the school after completion. This image here is down that classroom corridor in this main building with the STEM and the resource room off to your right-hand side here, with art and science off to your left, and bringing in opportunities to show student displays for artwork and other classwork with these displays on the wall to really liven up that space. We also have a couple of images that show you inside the classrooms in that building. So again, when we designed these buildings, they take into account kind of natural light patterns and sustainable principles, bringing in natural light up high to the north through the clear-story windows, and also to the south at a lower level. Those south-facing windows have an overhang which protect against too much heat gain and solar coming in that way. Each of the classrooms will have built-in cabinet and other accessories to support teaching and learning. One more image of the classroom spaces in that main building. And again, these are the classrooms that will be shared between all grade levels, with certain higher grade levels using them more or less than some of the lower grade levels. From the main building, we will jump to the K2 classroom building. Each of the classroom pods has 6 classrooms inside of them. When you come into the K2 pod, you have a small gathering area there with mechanical storage and staff space off of that, staff toilet rooms off of that. Each of the classrooms at this lower grade level do have toilet rooms inside the classroom for those students to be kept close by. They also have designated zones for student storage cubbies within those classrooms that are set back behind a half wall, so it keeps those student personal items out of the learning space, but still close by if they need to be accessed.
And there will be 2 of each grade level, 2K, 2 first, 2 second. It'll give them opportunities to do a lot of team teaching, cross-curricular planning, and we're really excited about this format because they're all nearby, so it really provides a space for them to really just have that collaboration piece that's so important.
Again, just a reminder of what the exterior of this building is looking like, the K2 classroom, which has the outdoor classroom space there as well. And again, each of these classroom buildings is color-coded and themed. So orange is the K2, and that is both on the exterior and brought into the building. So we have some interior images that show what the inside of one of these typical classrooms would look like. I want to point out, I mentioned previously that we are doing geothermal systems for the HVAC systems in these buildings. And we really want to take that, awesome technology that the district is implementing here and make it a learning opportunity for the students. So with the floor finishes and other opportunities within each of these buildings, we're looking to show off that system. In this case, you can see this orange stripe through the classroom as well as this orange dot in the back is representative of where those geothermal systems are actually sitting under the building. So it shows the routes of the piping and where those bores are underneath the building that is helping to generate the system. In these K through 2 classrooms, the library function is integrated into the classrooms with some built-in shelving and this little bench seating there. Those cubbies, again, are behind that half wall. We've got some additional views into this classroom space as well, so showing the built-in storage and countertops, sinks in these classrooms, and the teaching wall opposite of the cubbies. Again, this image here is into that cubby space that keeps the students' items in the classroom but out of the learning space. Moving on next to the other classroom pods. First, we'll start with the 3rd through 5th grade classrooms. And the 3rd through 5th grade and the 6th through 8th grade pods are very similar. So I'm going to show you the floor plans for both of those together, and then we'll show imagery that is representative of both. It is in the blue color, which is the 3rd through 5th color. So when we start talking about the 6 through 8 pod, it would be the similar imagery, but in purple to match the color coding of that building. So each of these buildings, again, have 6 classrooms in it, 2 per grade level. What's different in these buildings is that there are not toilet rooms in each of the classrooms. They are group toilet rooms outside, but they have this support space that is this collaboration area when you come into the building. In these buildings, we've got the lockers down in the corridor instead of in the classrooms, which is a difference for the older students, but we still have similar counters and cabinetry inside the classrooms to support storage and the needs of the teachers there. I mentioned earlier about the geothermal system. That kind of approach is taken here as well, but what I forgot to mention is that as you come into each of these buildings, you'll be able to see into the mechanical space, which will also show off the manifolds for the geothermal system, another opportunity to put that system on display for learning. Again, touching briefly on the 6 through 8 classroom pod, it's very similar to the one we just looked at for 3 through 5. The difference here is that there is a dedicated principal or administrator space in there, but otherwise similar classroom layouts as well as the support collaborative space and the toilet rooms.
And just to add a little bit more about that, we will have an assistant principal at our building, and we felt that it would be more appropriate to have our AP in a different location than where the principal would be, which would help with supervision and support.
Again, just a quick refresher that these are the 2 buildings at the south of the site, one in blue and one in purple, and then we'll jump to the interiors. So when you come into this 3 through 5 and the 6 through 8 classroom pods, you're in this collaborative area. There's some design features in the ceiling with some acoustic baffles that make it a little bit more interesting and welcoming to walk into. We have fun geometric prints on the walls that make it really lively. And this, again, will be the library space collection for these 2 buildings. I mentioned before that geothermal pattern in the flooring, and you can see it here as well through the corridor. We have a couple more images of this space. So looking in the other direction, back to that main entry door, you can see we've put some opportunities for student artwork to be on display, and you can see what the other side of the space looks like. One more image back to the corridor, and you can see the entrances to the boys and girls restrooms here as well as the single-use and staff bathrooms off of this space.
One of the nice things about creating these kind of pods, and this has been mentioned by Dr. Beard, is that you have space where you can use to be creative. So yes, you have your 6 classrooms, but you also have this shared space. Maybe you're going to be practicing for a play. Maybe you're doing some pull-out. Maybe you're doing a project. Maybe teachers need to meet with parents. There's all sorts of things that we can now use and be creative by having these units that are for 6 through 8 or 3 through 5 or K through 2. And so when you see this makeup, there really is going to be a sense of community amongst these 3 grades, and that there's a real sense of ownership. And again, one of the nice things is that it's all contained. So to go to the bathroom is not that far away. To see the assistant principal, it's not that far away. To see your teachers, even if it's the same grade, they're across the hall or next to each other. So by creating this kind of methodology, we're really helping to create community for the staff, for the students, but also a sense of belonging and a sense of place.
Our images continue down into the classroom wing of that building, so you can see how we've highlighted the doors and the entries into these spaces with the pop of blue and some fun feature lighting. Again, we have the lockers in the corridor in these buildings so that the student belongings are kept in those locked lockers and out of the classroom space. And then again, you can see the blue line as well as the blue dots down the corridor, and these are through the classroom wings as well that show that geothermal field underneath the building. These last few images here take us inside the classroom space of one of these typical classroom pods for these 2 buildings. So again, highlighted in blue here, you can see where that color accent is brought across the flooring to show that geothermal pattern. You can see the built-in cabinetry for student storage. You can see the clear story windows that are north-facing, bringing that natural light into the building, into the space, and those south-facing ones that will have the overhang as well. A look in that same space towards the teaching wall. And again, furniture is still all a work in progress, so the furniture will change as we continue to develop our design. And last but not least, one more image looking out those south-facing windows in this classroom pod.
In regards to furnishings, I really appreciate that there's going to be staff voice in these student furniture and other furnishings. And we could also provide opportunities for student voice as well as we begin to furnish this wonderful building.
I'm very excited that we've had the opportunity to share this with all of you today, and we look forward to seeing this project come to life and hope that it'll be a great asset for the district and the community. So
And I just want to thank King Scott for really listening to the ideas that we've all brought that have been the community's ideas and the teachers' ideas and the students' ideas. And then I really want to thank Dr. Beard for her wonderful stewardship through this entire process in this school. The Willow community deserves a beautiful, brand new, amazing education institution, and that's what we plan on building. We're looking forward to seeing it built from the ground up. It'll be a couple of years, so stay with us. But again, we just want to thank everybody for tuning in. And as Dr. Beard said, there will be, teacher voice in terms of some of the decisions, because we do trust and really want to make sure that our educators are helping to have a voice in creating this space as well. And with that, I want to turn it over to Dr. Beard for some final words.
Again, I just want to thank you for taking time to look at this presentation. There may be some things that you think about down the road that you could certainly reach out to me and others so we can get that information for you. But it's really important for us to remind you that you are our community stakeholders. You are why we do what we do. And we want to make sure that we have the best learning environment for your children. And again, I just wanted to thank you.